William Morrow and Harper Audio present The Widow's War, a novel, by Sally Cabot Gunning, performed by Kate Udall. Now, one of the most essential branches of English liberty is the freedom of one's house. A man's house is his castle, and whilst he is quiet, he should be as secure in his house as a prince in his castle. Are not women born as free as men? Would it not be infamous to assert that the ladies are all slaves by nature? James Otis, 1725 to 1783. Our happiness depends on ourselves, on the calm and equal state of our own minds, and not on the versatile conduct of others. A state of war has ever been unfavorable to virtue. Mercy Otis Warren, 1728 to 1814. 1. January 2nd, 1761. Lyddie Berry heard the clatter of the geese and knew something was coming. Cousin Betsey, grandson Nate, another wolf, are knowing those fool birds a good gust of wind. But when she heard the door snap hard against the clapboards, she discounted all four of them. She whirled with the wind already in her skirts to see the Indian, Sam Cabot, just ducking beneath the lintel. He had the height and width to crowd a room, and the black eyes. What was it about a pair of eyes you couldn't see through? She took a step back and was sorry she'd done it, but he'd not have noticed. Already he'd looked past her, calling into the empty doorway behind, "Blackfish in the bay." The words had been known to clear every man out of town meeting, so Lyddie wasn't surprised to hear the instant echo of Edward's boots, or see the great sweep of arm that took up his coat and cap, along with his breakfast. The bread went to pocket, and the beer to mouth. He set back the mug and smiled at her. Never mind, it was a smile full of whales, not wife. She answered it, or would have if he'd stayed to see it. He was gone before her skirts had settled. Lyddie ate her bread and drained her beer and stepped into her day, scouring down the pewter, building up the fire for the wash, shaving the soap into the kettle. At the first trip to the well, she looked up at the trees and noted the wind, coming up brisk but constant in direction. By the fourth trip, it had turned fickle, angling in first from the north, then the east, then the west, sometimes in a great gust, and sometimes in a whisper. She went back inside and pounded out the shirts and shifts, tossing them into the pot to boil, all the while listening to the wind. She descended the ladder into the cellar to fetch the vegetables for the stew, and even there in the hollow dark she caught the echo. She climbed out and chopped turnips, and listened, put the saltfish to soak, and listened, trimmed and set the candles, and listened, smoothed the bed feathers, and listened. Once she'd hung the stew pot, poked the fire, and stirred up the clothes. She grabbed her cloak and cap off the peg and went out. The winter had begun mild, and the ruts were deep and soft in the landing road. Lyddie was muddy to the tops of her boots by the time she took the rise at Robin's Hill, and saw the ash-colored bay spotted all over with boats and foam. She leaned into the wind, and soon had a clear view of the beach, blackened as far as her eye could see by the whales driven ashore by the men.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?